In this video, I'm going to show you how to do the provisional crochet cast on. Now, to do this cast on, you need your knitting needles, of course, a crochet hook, your project yarn, and some waste yarn. So to begin, tie a slip knot in your waste yarn like you normally would to start a project, and put it on your crochet hook. I'm going to demonstrate this continental style first, and then I will demonstrate it English style. So if you're doing it continental style, so if you crochet already and you're used to holding your yarn in your left hand, or if you knit continental style where you hold your yarn in your left hand, I recommend using this method. If you or not, hold on just a minute and I'll show you how to do it where you're holding the working yarn in your right hand instead of your left hand. So with the slip knot on your crochet hook and you're holding your yarn like you normally would when you crochet or knit, pick up your knitting needle with your left hand. The yarn goes behind the knitting needle. It's attached to the crochet hook. Bring the crochet hook in front, pick up the yarn and pull it through the slip knot. And there we have one stitch on our knitting needle. To do the next stitch, bring the yarn around the back of your needle, pick it up again with your crochet hook, and pull it through the loop on the hook. One more time, yarn goes around the back, not around the crochet hook like this, just between the crochet hook and the needle, around the back of the needle. Then pick the yarn up with the crochet hook. Now you can either loop it this way or you can loop it this way. It doesn't matter. Just be consistent. And bring it through the loop that's on the hook. Now I'm going to switch to holding it in my right hand to show those of you who are not adept at crocheting or knitting continental style. You will bring the yarn, so the yarn is here between the hook and the needle. Bring it around the needle and the hook. Then grab that yarn with the hook of the crochet hook and pull it through the loop on the hook. I'll do it again. Bring the yarn around the needle and the hook. Grab that working yarn with the hook of your crochet hook and bring it through that loop that's on the hook. One more time, around the needle and the hook, and then grab it with the hook and through the loop. Now you will continue this. I'm going to switch back to continental because that is my natural way of knitting. You will continue this until you have as many stitches as is called for in your pattern on the needle. So here I have 2, 4, 6, 8. I'm going to do 2 more. 9. I'm going to do 10 stitches for this demonstration. 10. Once you get the number of stitches on your needle that is required for your pattern, do a few chain stitches. That is, just loop the yarn around your hook and pull it through the loop on the hook. Again, around the hook, through the loop on the hook. Now, if you're doing this by holding the yarn in your right hand, a chain stitch will just pull the yarn around the hook and pull it through the loop on the hook. Go around the hook, through the loop on the hook. Now you just need 3 or 4 stitches, and it's a chain stitch in crochet, and they're just going to hang off the end like this. And then we'll cut this yarn. So you see, you just need a small amount of waste yarn for this cast on. And it looks like this. Now the reason why we do this chain at the end here is because then it's obvious which end to unpick to undo the chain, which I show in another video, because normally when you do a provisional cast on like this, you will do the cast on knit your piece, and then come back later and unpick the provisional cast on so that you can pick up the live stitches of your knitting. This will get thrown away then, which is why it's called provisional, because it's just there provisionally until you don't need it anymore. Now we're only halfway done with the cast on at this point. So now with your project yarn, you're going to knit one row, and I'm just going to show that continental style because it is simply just the knit stitches. Now you notice I did not do a slip knot for this. So this is also how I join new yarns for a project. I just hold the yarn. If you hold it in your right hand, it's the same thing. You just hold it the way you normally do. Now, if I'm knitting English style, I'll kind of hold it with both hands so that I have some tension on it, because why am I holding a crochet hook? I need the other knitting needle, because, or I'll hold it it's just so you have a little tension on it so you can grab it and get it through that first loop, and then you let the tail dangle and continue knitting with the project yarn. Now if you're knitting continental style, that first one, and I like to leave myself a little extra longer tail just because that first stitch, since it's not held down with a slip knot, is very loose. So continental style, you'll just hold the yarn like you normally do. I hold the tail against the needle just so I have some tension there so I can grab the yarn and pull it through that first stitch. And then check to make sure that you are holding on to the working yarn and not the tail, because even as a very experienced knitter, I do that occasionally and I get to the end of the tail and realize that I have to unknit all those stitches and start over because I just knit with my tail. It happens to us all. So just check, drop your tail, make sure you actually drop the tail and you're holding onto the working yarn, and then simply knit across this row. So this cast on, it is a provisional cast on, and it does require the crochet part, and this first knit row is part of the cast on. So the completed cast on looks like this. You've got the crochet stitches right there, and you've got one row of knitting with your project yarn. Now at this point you'll follow your pattern for the next row and do whatever your pattern calls for in the next row, and you'll be on the way. And then check the other video. If you're looking at this on the knitalongclub.com tutorial, it will be in that tutorial below this video. If you're on YouTube, we will have a link in the description box to the video on how to pick up these live stitches once you are finished your knitting and you're ready to work with the live stitches, usually to graft it to maybe the other end of your work or another piece of your knitting. But your pattern will tell you that.